Hey YouTube, Joyboy here. So, chapter 859 of One Piece has dropped. So if you haven't checked out that chapter yet, I suggest that you do so because I will be spoiling you. But now that you have, let's begin. Guys, I'm so done with making predictions as for when exactly the wedding will occur, right? Because I think I made like 3 or 4 chapters ago a prediction that it would be the next chapter. And then the chapter after that, well, it seemed likely that it would be the next chapter. And again, after this chapter, it seems really likely that the next chapter will actually be the wedding. But I can only imagine in what ways Oda's going to add something to the story in order to cockblock us and delay once again. So I'm not even going to make a speculation, although it seems pretty likely that the tea party will be next chapter. And that's all I'm going to say. Maybe if I preface it with I'm definitely wrong, Oda will listen to this and be like, now is the time to finally make it the truth. Well, bam, Oda, take that reverse psychology. Jokes aside, guys, it really does seem incredibly likely that the next chapter will actually be the beginning of the tea party. And in this chapter, we learned a whole bunch of really interesting things. But I think the most interesting out of all the interesting things is how exactly Capone Beige plans on taking out Big Mom. And I'm going to be real with you, some parts of the plans required me to actually reread to better understand what the hell is going on, because we actually got introduced to several new things at once. But we'll start off with the simple part of the plan. We have Caesar's guns, which basically have a poison which will kill anyone. Okay, and there's, rather than one, there's 3 of them, so it's even more deadly. And they plan to shoot them at Big Mom. But obviously the bullets would need to connect, and so in that way they need some sort of distraction. And it seems like their go-to means for a distraction will initially be to destroy this important portrait that Big Mom always has across from her at any tea party. This portrait of like Madame Caramel or something like that. And then whenever anyone touches that or moves that, Big Mom freaks out, she like screams, she's distracted, and then the plan, it seems to be, is for Luffy to come in at that moment and just distract everyone so that Capone can shoot the gun at Big Mom. Oh, also, whenever you touch that or the portrait or destroy it or whatever, it's supposed to remove Big Mom's defenses, which by itself is a what the fuck moment. But anyway, that happens, you shoot the gun at Big Mom, who is now defenseless, and then you kill her, and then you hop away onto Caesar, who's flying carrying a mirror, and then you escape to your ships and run away. If Capone is actually right that Big Mom's only defenseless moment is when you in some way interfere with this portrait, the plan seems pretty good, to be honest with you. I guess this would just sort of assume that not many people know this little detail about Big Mom. However, I want to make it clear that I do not expect this plan to actually work. Straight up, guys, it's just not going to be that easy. We're not going to kill Big Mom in 5 seconds at the tea party and then run away. If for no other reason than as a story, it is not very provocative, right? And then you still have the unresolved plot of Sanji versus his family, right? So if they kill Big Mom and then run away immediately to their various ships, then they go their separate ways, then you have no resolution of the conflict between the Vinsmoke and Sanji, which has to happen in some way, in my opinion. And then among other things as well, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so for my last first reaction to the previous chapter, I sort of envisioned a scenario where Capone and everyone would go in with this very intricately laid plans. We're going to go in with the general impression, the obvious impression that the plan seems foolproof, that it seems likely that we are going to succeed. And then sort of what happens in my head is that Big Mom will know what's coming in some way or another. We even have a little line from Brule in this chapter of how exactly she wants to find a way to communicate with Big Mom. And I think even if she doesn't find a way to communicate with Big Mom, somebody will communicate to Big Mom, whether that be Peckham's or Brule, or Big Mom already knew the entire time. She will have a countermeasure to whatever their plan is. So we go into the tea party knowing the plan, having some hope, and we have that hope dashed, and so the heroes still need to win, right? Big Mom can't win, so then how do you overcome that? Well, that's when you need some way in order to catch Big Mom unaware again. And then I think the thing that is actually going to lead to Big Mom's quote-unquote defeat will actually be the Tamate Bako box. But one thing this chapter did that really actually kind of changed my thoughts about the whole situation is now it's not only just the wedding cake which seems precious to Big Mom, which is likely to cause some sort of major reaction from her. We also have this portrait of Madame Caramel. or whatever her name is. I really should read the chapter again before I talk about it, but YOLO. And so, if this portrait gets damaged, Big Mom seems to just completely freak out. And then not only that, but you can also damage her. So if she in some way opens up the Tamate Bako box during the wedding at any point in time, and this box is supposed to explode hardcore, I think you could almost guarantee that this portrait will in some way be damaged. So I honestly think it's really cool, really provocative of a story for these Straw Hats and Capone and everyone to try and destroy this portrait, but fail. And Big Mom will see it coming, they will fail, and then the bomb goes off, and that's what destroys the portrait, and that's when the plan goes into action. But let's talk about this Madame Caramel for a moment, and this portrait. Guys, I'm getting some seriously strange vibes from how Big Mom reacts to the destruction of the portrait. I honestly feel like that this might actually be related to her devil fruit in some way. I mean, you have Big Mom, who's supposedly indestructible, but when this portrait is destroyed, she loses her indestructibility. That's not normal. Guys, I can't quite put my finger on it, but this general premise where you have a photograph which is in some way linked to a person's well-being, like you hurt the photograph, you hurt the person, seems like it has to have been incorporated in some story in the past. Like, I feel like there is some inspiration for what Oda has just created here with Big Mom and Madame Caramel that I personally cannot come up with right now, but somebody out there can. And so guys, I'm really unsure of what exactly is going on here, but I'm just going to throw a speculation at you, and this is probably not right, but it just sort of gives you sort of a gauge of how right now I'm thinking about the situation, which is Big Mom has the Soul Devil Fruit. Potential of the Soul Devil Fruit is really, really strong. And so we know that she creates homies and puts her own soul into various homies, okay? And it's also noted that her homies are also indestructible like her. I wonder if sort of Big Mom extracted the bit of her soul which contained all of her vulnerability and put it into this portrait of Madame Caramel. And so whenever you destroy this portrait, you destroy the homie, and perhaps the soul then in various ways returns back to Big Mom, making her vulnerable again. And this could be vulnerability not just in physical terms, but mental terms as well. We see that Big Mom essentially freaks out whenever the portrait is in any way touched or damaged or whatever. And so maybe she becomes emotionally unstable at the same exact time, which would kind of explain her screamings, along with also being able to be damaged. Anyway guys, that's pure speculation, but I think it's interesting, so I thought I'd share it. But now let's talk about Madame Caramel, the actual person, not the portrait. And so this is the kind of stuff which makes me cling on to the hope that Big Mom at some point in the future will not be an enemy. It's like think about all the villains, all the main antagonists in the entire story of One Piece. How many of them had a mentor like it seems like Big Mom had, that they care enough about to sort of keep around with them at all points in time? Like Crocodile, who did he care about? No one. Enel, who did he care about? No one. Arlong, who did he care about? I mean, the Fishman race as a whole maybe, but other than that, really no one. I mean, the list goes on and on. I could literally, it's every single villain. They don't have real people emotions in the sense of like connections and relationships most of the time, if not all the time. But Big Mom is different. Big Mom has layers. She's an onion, as Shrek would say. Like, just take in what we learn in this chapter. Big Mom takes this photograph of this woman that is quote-unquote very important to her to every single tea party and sits directly in front of Big Mom. Thinking about the potential connection between Big Mom and Mother Caramel, and the strong connection that Mother Caramel must have had on Big Mom, will definitely lead you to the thought that this story between them is going to be heart-wrenching. And so who exactly is Madame Caramel? Well, I think I probably lean towards the idea that we have no idea. But if there is one idea, the only really good idea is that Miss Bakken is actually Mother Caramel. And the reason why this connection can be made is because if you look at Miss Bakken's glasses, they are the same kind of glasses that we see Peckhams wear. So they're almost Big Mom styled glasses. And then also similar lipstick as well. She also seems incredibly old, perhaps even older than Big Mom herself. And it's also not confirmed that Mother Caramel is dead, rather rumored that she ran away, and Miss Bakken certainly isn't dead and is definitely out doing things, traveling and such. So Bakken could be Caramel, but I'm incredibly skeptical. But yeah, let's wrap up this video with a couple points, which is that if the Vinsmokes are aware of what's going on, if they have any plans against Big Mom or are aware that Big Mom plans on taking them out, they are hiding it extremely well, to the point to where it's becoming incredibly difficult to believe that the Vinsmokes are doing anything other than marrying their third useless son to the Big Mom Pirates to take over the North Blue with the help of the Big Mom Pirates. And at the end of the chapter, we got Pudding again. And Oda is making Pudding say things which clearly emphasize to me that Oda is aware that there are many different opinions about Pudding within the One Piece community. We're split in half on Pudding, it seems, roughly. On one half, you have Pudding is faking being a bad guy. On the other half, people say that Pudding was faking being the good guy, and she is now revealed her true colors. And then in this chapter, Oda decides to have Pudding say this. "What's the matter, Pudding? Your dress looks wonderful on you." She says, "I feel down." "What's the matter, marriage blues?" "Yeah! I feel like I'm shouldering too heavy a burden." Nitro and Rabian. And then she goes on to explain specifically what her burden is, and it again emphasizes that we should think that Pudding is evil, but why even say this in the first place? It's like Oda is like teasing us. Right now, Oda is toying with our expectations. That is, at the very least, clear to me. And so at the end, she talks about it being a pain in the ass to alter everyone's memory to give them the perception that she is 100% good again. And so I freaked out a little bit on Twitter thinking that she was referring to the Straw Hats, but it doesn't actually necessarily mean just the Straw Hats. She could be referring to the other family members or the guests at the tea party, because it's stated through Pudding that Big Mom is the only one that's aware of her true nature. But this still does one of two things. On one hand, it sort of gives you the impression that there's a lot of work that goes into using Pudding in your various schemes if you're Big Mom. Basically, if you want to pull Pudding on whoever your unsuspecting victim is, you would have to lead them to believe that she's good, and then have her reveal that she's evil to get a sort of rise out of them, and then you find out, and then you basically alter the memories of everyone who noticed this afterwards. It seems like a lot of work for not that much gain. But on the other hand, we have been led to believe that Pudding is essentially unhappy with Big Mom through various things. And this chapter kind of emphasized that a little bit more, saying how it's all a pain in the ass that she has to go through all this, and she wouldn't be doing any of this probably, it doesn't seem that way, unless Big Mom ordered it, which Big Mom did order it. So you could say that this pain in the ass was caused by Big Mom herself. So when you think of it from that perspective, when she's saying like, oh, I have all this work I need to do, it's essentially another reason to speculate that Pudding is unhappy with Big Mom. And I also wonder if this is some sort of like amazing foreshadow that Oda just threw in here, right? Because a lot of people have been wondering, you know, how exactly will Pudding use her powers in this arc, right? Memory manipulation could be huge. She could manipulate the memory of Big Mom herself, potentially. And so is this Oda's foreshadow of that? Like Pudding, by the end of this arc, will be manipulating everyone's memories so that the Straw Hats can somehow get out of this situation alive and without necessarily being like chased or something along those lines. Or is this the time that Pudding will finally strike back and actually try to take over the title of Queen from her own mother and potentially alter the memories of her entire crew? Like, this could go in so many different directions. I'm really hyped to 100% know everything about Pudding. Anyway, guys, that's really all I wanted to talk about today. Let me know if you noticed anything from the chapter that I didn't notice, or talk about something from the chapter that I didn't talk about, or just share your thoughts in general. Just let me know. Like the video if you like the video, dislike the video if you dislike the video, subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content, and as always, guys, have a wonderful day.